So with the presidential election approaching, the political pundits who have been looking at polling data have developed 4 different scenarios by which the presidential election could end in a tie with the Electoral College. So what happens if neither candidate gets the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency? Well, you're going to find out in today's episode. I'm Joshua Roberts, attorney at law, and you are watching Lawyer Up. Today we're going to be looking at Electoral College tiebreaker scenarios. We're going to look at what happens if they happen to both end with 269 Electoral College votes. Who decides the presidency? Well, you're going to find out today. And remember to like, subscribe, and share the channel. And if you got something to say, you got a question, put it in the comment section below. Now, as I mentioned, political pundits have been looking at the polling data state by state, and they've been running the scenarios. And it looks like there is a possibility, and there are 4 different scenarios by which each candidate, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, could wind up with 269 Electoral College votes, one short of what is required to win the presidency. And this is shocking because collectively they have spent $11 billion campaigning for presidency. And unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the Republican nominee is Donald Trump, the sitting president, with the vice president of Mike Pence. And the challenger from the Democratic Party is Joe Biden for president, with his vice president candidate being Kamala Harris. Now, if neither candidate gets the 270 Electoral College votes to win, the presidential election is tossed into Congress to decide. Specifically, the House of Representatives decides who the president is, and the Senate will decide who the vice president is. Now, for those of you who follow Congress, you know that the House of Representatives is controlled by the Democrats, meaning they have more members in the House that are of the Democratic Party than Republicans. Juxtaposed is the Senate side, where there are more Republican senators than there are Democratic senators. So logically, and I have seen people on television news shows talking about this, they said, well, since the Democrats control the House of Representatives and they choose the president, if there is a tie, most likely the House of Representatives would choose Joe Biden, the Democrat, for president. And since there are more Republicans in the Senate, they would choose Mike Pence as the vice president. Now, this would end up with an odd scenario where you have a Democrat as president and a Republican as vice president. That would not be anything that we have seen in over 200 years in this country. However, those people on TV, supposed experts who have been saying that, don't really fully appreciate how this process works. Because in the House of Representatives, those individual representatives don't each get their own independent vote. Instead, they have to vote collectively, state by state. So each state only gets 1 vote. So in essence, there are only 50 votes for president. And it's important to remember that while there are more individual Democrats in the House, they are grouped collectively in larger states. There are over 80 members in California and New York alone in the House of Representatives. Regardless, California only gets 1 vote and New York gets only 1 vote. So when you look at red states compared to blue states, there really is no scenario by which Joe Biden could win. In almost every examination of red states versus blue states, you see about 30 red states versus about 20 blue states. So even though there are more Democrats in the House of Representatives, most likely the outcome, if there is a tie with the Electoral College, would be for the House of Representatives to vote on a state-by-state basis to elect Donald Trump as president. Now, when you flip over to the Senate, the individual senators do each get an individual vote. It's not state by state. So we have 100 senators, the majority of which are Republican. So you would anticipate that they would vote individually along party lines, and Mike Pence would be nominated or elected by the Senate to be the vice president. So, despite what you may see on TV, and despite the fact that Joe Biden will probably definitely win the popular vote, That's not how we elect a president. They're elected by the Electoral College. And if there were to be a tie at 269 and 269, mark my words, you will see another 4 years for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. And whether that's good news for you or bad news, well, that's in the eye of the beholder. So that's the quick update on the potential for a tie with the Electoral College. I'm coming to you today from the new studio. We don't have our green screen up yet. It's not fully developed, but we thought we would shoot this in here to get you a quick update. As always, like, subscribe, share me on social media, and comment below if you've got something to say. I appreciate you watching. Again, my name is Joshua Roberts, and you've been watching Lawyer Up.
Send lawyers, guns, and money. Dad, get me out of this.